you can have your bulletproof coffee or not for breakfast, and you can still be healthy. But whatever the right food combination is for you, if you have these negative things running through your brain, they will trash your day and they'll make you inflamed.
Hi.
Hey.
So happy to see you. So I've already rattled on and on about you for about 10 minutes. So we've already kind of done the introduction, and just real quick, just thank you so much for being here and for taking the time. I think you can see with all the hearts that people are really excited to have you on, and just really excited to hear about this new program and this new project that you have that you're introducing today. Wait, what is that about the alligator? There's an alligator about to
Yeah.
Oh.
It is. It's a crocodile skull with gold teeth.
Does it really have gold teeth?
Yeah,
I can't zoom.
because you should always have bling. I don't know.
So funny. How is your mitochondria today? That's funny. So I'm sure we're going to have some great comments. Yay, we love Brain Tap too. I've been doing my Brain Tap. Do you do your Brain Tap every day?
I don't do mine every day. I have so many cool toys, but I definitely do my Brain Tap.
Alternate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to do it maybe not just about every day, at least once. I go through this series of programs. But before you jumped on, I was just sharing with everyone how much, just what an awesome human you are and how grateful I am to you, which you know, because I blew up your text messages with that.
You're like a stalker.
I'm like, thank you for being alive. And just how much you've helped me, just since we had lunch with, some of my long haul symptoms, and I did everything you said, and then I connected with Dr. Michael Gallitzer. And so between what you shared with me and what he did, I really feel a shift, and I'm just
feeling better?
Yeah, I do. And we can chat more about it offline, but I do, and I'm so grateful. So I was sharing that with everyone.
One of the problems is that there's a good number of people who know what to do when we're dealing with long haul COVID. I wrote a post about 2 weeks into this whole experience, and I said, here's what IL-6, it's an inflammatory cytokine. It's the one that causes the inflammation storm that's involved with long COVID and short-term effects. And here's a bunch of research about stuff that lowers this. So if you might get infected, or you are infected, or you're having problems, maybe you should use these herbs we've known about for thousands of years that in clinical studies lower these levels. Now, that would be a good, valuable post to share with people, right? Yeah. I got a warning letter from a 3-letter agency to remove the post. So one of the reasons I started the Upgrade Collective is that it's a private membership group.
Yeah.
So this is 2 calls a week where I answer, not a week, 2 calls a month where I answer questions, and 2 other calls where my coaches answer questions, and a private group where we answer hundreds of inquiries. And then I teach all of my books. So you want to know about your brain? There's a course where I teach it. I used to teach at the University of California. This is my chance to give back. So it's not about just writing the book. What if you don't learn from books? And to do that with thousands of people at the same time, it's been a huge amount of fun for me. But part of it is because I can't say the stuff I want to say on my blog. Yeah. Because they come after you for it, but you can still say it in private.
This is on your blog. It wasn't even on a social post. It was
on my blog.
Yep. Oh wow, that's a whole nother conversation. But okay, so let's just break down, because not everyone knows yet and has not yet been introduced to what the Upgrade Collective is. So comprehensively, it is hundreds of videos, right? Like hundreds of videos. You go over all your books.
Hundreds of videos isn't that useful because no one has time. I've already put out enough content between the written stuff and all the videos. It's a 2-year college degree for free. In terms of the number of hours that you would spend to go through all my stuff. I think that no one listening has 2 more years to go to college to listen to 1,000 podcasts and read all 3,000 blog posts and read 7 books. So guide you through which is the correct thing. You froze for me. I think people can start me. Right. I just want to walk people through. So you care about this. you can either ask the question and we'll guide you to the right video, or we'll just answer the question for you. So the idea is it's not just me, it's me leading the conversations where, 1,000 people are there and you get to raise your hand. And also people in the Upgrade Collective get to dial in while I'm running a podcast and ask questions of the guest of the podcast. So it's a community. But I didn't do this until the pandemic because I just realized teaching is so important. And part of teaching is, how do I guide you to what you should know? And who are the other people who care about that, so you can all talk with each other? Because you all know more than I do in aggregate. Everyone on this thing right now, if we took all your little bits, including what all the stuff you know, you guys are going to beat me, but I might know how to direct it in a way. So that's why we do it as a community and together, because that's how learning happens, not just from reading a book.
Right. And I love that it's, community. And so, you actually end up making friends as well and really connecting with other people. The filtration process is already done for you here, which is a beautiful thing. And wait, how long did you started in the collective? So, a collective during the pandemic. So how long has it been going on? How long have you,
we started it in February. We rolled it out and it took me, several months of recording content. So every book that I've written, except for the Better Baby book, now has a course. And the courses usually last a month or two, and you get a video a week. And if you like what was in that, I want to go deeper on that, then I tell you there's the 3 episodes that give you the information from Bulletproof Radio. And here's, if you don't want to read the thing, here's the stuff you needed to know, the Cliff's Notes. Right? So my deal is, you guys are all lazy in the best possible way, because you could either spend 2 hours learning, or you could spend 10 minutes learning and get what you needed. I want you to spend 10 minutes. I want you to spend the other hour meditating, playing with your kids, cooking a really good meal, whatever. So I don't want to waste your time. It's not about spending more of it like Netflix wants to. It's about spending less of it so that you can be free to do something that matters. That's the other part of it. Like, have friends.
No, that's awesome. And all these people are saying, how do we join? Where do we join? It is at ourupgradecollective.com. I'm going to go ahead and pin that so that it's right here. Okay, you guys. So right here at the bottom, ourupgradecollective.com. That's where you go. And I know already some people had already asked about it. I'm sure I'm having questions now. People had sent in questions ahead of time as well. And just how much is it? Is it something that people can manageably do?
It's about $99 a month. And for that, you get access to about 8 or 10 live studio audience podcasts. You get 2 hours of time with me, 2 hours of dedicated time with coaches and other people. And we answer all of your questions. Like we have something like 800 questions answered in the Facebook groups. So it's as much as you'd spend on a personal trainer for 1 or 2 sessions. It's not meant to be burdensome, but it is a dedicated team that I built in order to teach this. So it's not meant to make me rich. It's meant to cover its costs, but to deliver a lot of value so that you can be more effective in your time. What I think right now is that we all have so much energy to spend in a day, and we can spend it on recovering from whatever, we did or didn't get, or recovering from a bad night's sleep or stress or whatever. We could spend it learning. We could spend it in all sorts of different ways. I just want to make it easier to learn. And my main focus when I'm not teaching this stuff is Upgrade Labs, which is, I want you to exercise way less and get more results, because it's all about returning time and returning more energy back to you. Because when we have more energy, we use the energy to regulate our emotions. So we're wired to be nice and to be kind to each other if we have enough energy. And if we're studying our butts off and we're exercising our butts off and we're stressed all the time, we're going to act like jerks. And I want to live in a world with less jerks.
Yes, I'm with you there. I think you taught me about the 3 tiers and 4 tiers of people or categories. So less jerks is a great thing. So and this is something that I was sharing with the audience as well, for those of them who aren't, maybe I'm assuming most of them are already a part of your audience, but I'm sure there's quite a few that are not yet, especially since I have a very plant-based audience as well. Oh, there's Ion. Hi guys. Hi. Love you more. So I'm Michelle, another genius, like incredible person. What I love so much about everything that you've done, Dave, and with this in particular, is that it's really just, it's all out of service. You're taking your vast wealth of information and you're you're making it digestible and easy for the average person to understand, take in, and to better themselves. And even though you've done that with your books and with all your other businesses, it sounds like this collective distills it down even more so. So as you mentioned, it's friendly for our schedules and our time, but you're still getting the utmost value that you possibly get had you invested 20 hours into that particular topic, is what it sounds like.
It's really the community thing that makes a big difference. They say, you are the combination of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And it can get a little bit stressful when you're hanging around with a bunch of people who are just in fear, who are in a victim mindset all the time.
Yeah.
And I've been really sick. You don't have to be a victim when you're really sick. I weighed 300 pounds. I had toxic mold poisoning, fibromyalgia, and a lot of the diseases of aging before I was 30. The cognitive dysfunction, arthritis, just the wrecked gut from antibiotics for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I managed to recover from all that. So if I could do that and be where I am now with the energy and the brain that I have now, I'm pretty sure everyone listening can do it, because I was like the worst case that you could do and still end up being functional. And so I would rather have not gone through that, but because I did, it puts me in a good position to lead a community of people. Yeah. And it's funny because some of the members, like, I'm 20 and I'm recovering from those stuff. And other people like, I'm 20 and I'm totally going to go kill it. And I'm just here to perform better. And they're talking in our chats when we do our breakouts with someone who's 78 and going, you know what? I just lost 40 pounds and I got my brain back and like, I want to start a company. Right. So we get a chance to see and learn from people who are our elders, or you might get a chance to work with someone who is 20 or 30 years younger than you. And like, oh, I'm going to get the energy from that, but I get to share all this experience. So everybody wins. And you end up with this really cool community of people where the one thing that unites us all is we all want to do something every day to make ourselves better. And we understand that when we're better, it makes the world around us better. And that makes it fun for me. So I plan to keep doing the Upgrade Collective for a long time because it's more concentrated learning. And you guys have all sat behind Zoom and tried to learn something or just read a book all by yourself, and you can learn that way. But if you're in a classroom and you're actually like doing a project with a person and you're talking about it, it sticks. And I just want it to stick. And that's why this matters.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, that's what we have here. You know, we have people that join in, and there's regular people on here every single time we do a live, and they communicate with each other. And this is just here. So can you guys imagine? It's like having this, but 1,000-fold, because you have these very regular, structured meetups, and you're able to communicate and ask questions and also connect with Dave. And I love what you said about community, and it actually reminds me of and again, thank you for sharing, that part of your journey, because I know that that's sometimes the dark times, though they inspire us to create what we create. It was still a difficult time. When I went through my, journey, still in it, but as I went through my journey that I think I shared with you, when I had almost died and got surgery and having to recover from that was a big thing that I lacked. I did, and it's also, I don't know if it was out there. I don't think it was, but also I didn't even think about the healing that would come from community at that point, because you're kind of in this space. So a reminder that the power of community is not just learning and growing and inspiring but also healing in so many ways for people, I think is incredibly powerful. So thank you so much for just kind of pointing that out and sharing that is one of the best, that's, kind of the reason why you're doing this and how excited you are about it.
I think it's part of why you do what you do too, Serena, just to be really clear.
Yeah, now it is for sure. But no, that is exactly what you said from where I was before, and what I had gone through, wanting to share everything that I learned and wanting to create community and connection and know and have people know that they're far from ever alone, that there's so many, that we're all connected, and to be able to do that in the capacity that I do it, just like what you said, I think it's awesome and I love it, and I'll do it for, for a really long time. So I really resonate with that.
You do something else that's different too. There are people who go through, a near-death surgery and even long haul where you become identified with your illness, and it's sort of like you wear it like a cloak, like a badge of honor, like, oh, I've suffered so much, therefore I deserve. And then there's the mindset that you have, which is, yeah, I suffered and I pushed and I worked and I overcame and I am overcoming, and I will help to bring you along the path. And that is so empowering and powerful. And that's how people are supposed to be. So you've done it exactly right. And not everyone gets there, right? There's toxic corners of Instagram for sure.
Yeah.
I just don't follow those accounts because they're just not good for your soul. So
Yeah.
you're doing it right.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm just really inspired. I'm inspired by people like you, and I'm inspired by our audience. People that are on here that want to learn. You guys inspire me, and I think you inspire Dave. It's probably another reason why you created this collective. It's just from the people that are in the community and their willingness to learn and to connect and to help themselves and to help each other. So I think that that's probably maybe a part of why you did it as well.
Oh yeah.
Community. So,
and a lot of people don't understand that. Like there's influencers out there, professional TikTok influencers who live in houses, and they're like, how do I get, more attention? Mm-hmm. The reason you do what you do, the reason I do what I do, it isn't about attention, mm-hmm. right? It's about helping, right? Because I know I started my Bulletproof. It was just a blog. Yeah. And I thought 5 people are going to read this blog, and it's going to make them not go through what I went through. And that's my win. I already am a VP at a big company with stock options. This isn't a business I'm going to start. Mm-hmm. And it turns out more than 5 people cared, and it let me, have the right to make coffee and all the stuff that I've done. But the intent behind it was never, I want to be well known. It was, I want to have an impact. And so you just got to look, when you're looking at someone, why are they creating that content and why are you looking at it? And then the biggest thing is, how does your heart feel when you finish looking at content? Mm-hmm. So it can suck you in. Fear porn does that really well. Like the headlines from the Washington Post, like, oh my God, we're all going to die. Mm-hmm. And then you read the thing and like, that's actually not what it said. You just like, you're bad people who wrote that. And then you read it and like, I feel dirty. Mm-hmm. All right. And then you can see that some channels like that, some aren't, but yours is always uplifting and empowering, and it's good. So thank you for putting good stuff out there instead of more of that attention grabbing blah stuff.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, and I don't know. I feel like, again, I receive. So thank you so much for seeing me. But I also feel like I have to give due credit to my parents, and my dad and the journey that they went through. And that's really what inspired me to show people that there's more that you can do for yourself and for others. And then also, nothing can be done without a team. And so I'm able to do what I do because I'm very blessed to have amazing people around me that also have the same philosophy, that want to share all the information with the world. So thank you for that. It means a lot.
Do you guys see what she just did there? When she goes, I receive. That's part of the stuff that I teach, that there's a personal development side to health that's really important. And most people have a really hard time receiving compliments. And especially women have a hard time with this, right? And you didn't do that. So you've learned in your own path not to deflect a genuine compliment, right? And that probably wasn't easy for you to learn, but that's a part of being healthy. That's a part of the stuff that you're doing, and it's a part of what I teach in the Upgrade Collective, because really you can have your bulletproof coffee or not for breakfast, and you can still be healthy. But whatever the right food combination is for you, if you have these negative things running through your brain, they will trash your day and they'll make you inflamed. And I spent 4.5 months with electrodes glued to my head, and I've run 1,000 entrepreneurs through my neuroscience company in order to edit those things, because that was a part of making myself healthy. And so you've got to be willing to have that conversation about what? You hate your parents? You're probably not going to get healthy until you deal with that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to say that to a group of people and then have some little side conversations where people are like, oh yeah, I had to do that. And then all of a sudden you feel like you're not alone, because that's the big problem. What you're feeling in your head, you have no clue that all the people around you, half of them are stuck in the same thing because we're never going to say it. So then when you or me, when we say it publicly, that matters. But when you are in a group and you're like, oh, we're all here to be better people, just like we're all working on this, all of a sudden all the guilt and shame goes away. And that's why community matters. And that's why I can write it in a book and it might land. But if you're reading that book at the same time as 10 other people and you're all going, oh my God, I totally did it, then the proof point is there and the motivation is there and you keep doing it. And so I just want it to work.
Yeah. And I think that is, as you said, it's one of the best ways for it to work. Thank you again for acknowledging, recognizing that I was able to say that, but you're so right. It's probably taken me until the last just 2 years for me to be able to receive a beautiful, genuine compliment and not deflect, because it's something that it's taken me so much work. But when you bring up how if there's 10 other people in the room or 100 other people in the room that really resonate with the same thoughts, that have the same pattern of behavior, like it's like you have a team, and you can help support each other, and it actually makes the process so much faster. So that's why, again, like I wasn't in a community as I was working through. I was probably working more one-on-one, like with a healer, or a couple of different friends. But listening to what you're saying, I can say for myself and my own journey, if I had a community at that time where I was, talking to 100, 200, however many other people that are experiencing the same feelings and thoughts, it probably would have accelerated that kind of like healing and learning. So again, the power of community is massive, in all these different ways.
And it's something that the pandemic has, I will say that the response to the pandemic has largely broken, because when you can't see people smile when they're supporting you, and they're 6 feet away from you, even though there is no risk in the room,
right?
Because maybe everyone's been tested or whatever else, but it doesn't matter. You must do that. It's really hard to do the learning and the healing, and you can do some of it during Zoom. But I'm pretty stoked because Florida is open, and I'm putting the Biohacking Conference on September 17th.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a couple thousand people doing this kind of work over 3 days. And that's at biohackingconference.com. So if you guys are interested in being around people and the tech that makes you healthier and stronger, that's worth checking out as well. Because it's time for you to go back out into the world and actually see people and get a hug, even from someone you don't know, and to not be triggered by that as being deadly, because hugs don't kill. They just don't.
Love that. Hugs don't kill. Do you have t-shirts that say that? Because
my underwear does. No. I should make a t-shirt.
You should. Hugs don't kill. I love that. So everyone can go. Dave's writing it down. Hugs don't kill.
I am, totally.
Make t-shirts and hats. Okay, I get the first batch then.
All right, it's a deal.
So everyone can find, and I'm not sure how much time. I'm hoping you have a good amount of time with us. I don't know if you had half an hour or an hour. I just want to be really respectful.
I can go for as much time as is necessary. If there's questions people want to ask, whatever, I'm good for another 15, 20 minutes, no problem.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so people obviously had all kinds of questions, and from everything. I had questions that were sent in earlier, DMs, when they saw that you were coming on. Everything from kale to what you feel like is the next biohacking trend to what you're working on right now to a little bit more about the upgrade collective. But I think that we'd answered a lot of it here. So, and then about your what was the term that you used again about Vax Curious? Was it
Vicurious?
Vicurious. Which
let's talk about
hysterical.
That.
Let's talk about that. And can you have t-shirts about that as well?
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to get a lot of t-shirts. All right, guys, I came out recently as being vi-curious.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's VI as in vaccine industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to do this because I have this group of friends, they're vaccine promiscuous. And they'll let anyone stick anything in them without even any standards, like, looking at science and all that stuff.
Yes.
And then I have all these other friends who are like anti-vaxxers, and they'll never let anyone stick anything in them, even if it's maybe going to be a good idea. And so I just realized I can't identify with either one of those things. So therefore, I just had to come out to the world and say that I'm like curious, that I'm in the middle, and that I am glad I have a tetanus vaccine. Right. And that I'm kind of curious. I'd like to see what the control group ends up with versus the experimental group with this current vaccine. That means that anyone who criticizes me is now guilty of shaming and bullying and not allowing me to identify as my true self, which would be a terrible thing. So that's why I would encourage you to use the hashtag #BiCurious. So if someone says you're an anti-vaxxer because you haven't had the vaccine and you think you might, but you're just not quite ready yet because there's a lot of questions that haven't been answered, and the people who are answering the questions are liars. Mm-hmm. A large pharmaceutical company making the most popular vaccine paid $10 billion in fines over the last 10 years for lying and killing people by hiding research. So I'm like, I just don't trust them. But I kind of might want to get the vaccine, but I don't know. And it's okay to be in the middle. And when someone tries to shame you, you can call them vaccine promiscuous and tell them you're vi-curious. And it's fun.
Hashtag vi-curious.
So that is what 90% of people are.
So, okay, so this has been a conversation that's circulating. Yeah. Do you see the hashtags? They're hysterical. Like, I think that's what we need the teachers to say.
They're totally hysterical.
Dave Asprey gear.
Hugs don't kill. Dave Asprey gear. I love it.
More swag.
So that's vi-curious. But let's talk about plant-based diets. Okay, guys, I'm famous for teasing kale people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I have been a raw vegan, like a devout raw vegan with these giant salad bowls and like blenders and juicers and all that kind of stuff. And it flat out didn't work for me, right? I did it right in the rightest possible way. Mm-hmm. And it was something that informed my recommendations on the Bulletproof Diet today. Right. However, I've also spoken at David Wolf's big raw vegan conference, and I gave a big talk about how ghee, clarified butter from grass-fed animals, supports soil, supports healthy plants with more nutrients, isn't unkind to animals, especially when it comes from smaller farmers. I run a small farm with animals and lots of healthy plants. Mm-hmm. And the next year when I came back to David's conference, 2/3 of the audience was starting to incorporate some ghee in their formerly vegan diets, because the kind of fat that you get from dairy, just the fat without the protein, without the dairy sugars, which do have problems, it helps you absorb vegetables better. To get the polyphenols from the vegetables, you actually need some of those kinds of fats because your body isn't made out of plant fats. And many people who are primarily plant-based say, you know what? There is an argument for butter. There's an ethical argument. There's a soil argument. There's an environmental argument, as long as it comes from well-treated animals. And it's a health argument because it lets you make better advantage of it. So all of a sudden, then, like, oh, I can put a teaspoon or two in my coffee, which is plant-based, coffee is, and it does something different than a plant-based margarine. And the difference is in how I feel and my hormones. I can make better testosterone and estrogen. And that it's okay to give yourself permission to do that. But most importantly, do what works for you. Mm-hmm. Right. So if you ever see me joking about kale does cause digestive problems for a lot of people and joint problems and kidney stones, but maybe it works for you. I'll teach you how to cook it so that it does less damage. But regardless of wherever you are, yes, I'm probably going to tease you a little bit, and I'm going to like wave bacon around because it's funny, but I don't judge you, and you can eat whatever you want as long as you feel good. Yes.
Yes. And that's something I learned. I shared this right before you came on. It was just like when we met in person, I'm just like, Dave is rad, like coolest guy. Not at all like it's funny. And I think that the tease and the wittiness is just such not even a part of your brand, just who you are. And it actually helps people take in the information better if you have a little bit of humor about things. So if you do eat kale, which obviously I do and a lot of people do, it's really about the preparation and the combinations of things that you have with it to make sure that your body can properly digest it. You know, there are some people that actually can't do coffee. I had a bunch of messages come in.
Oh, the bad people? Those ones?
Well, they just can't. It hurts their tummies.
I'm totally kidding.
So they want to do your bulletproof coffee. So the questions were, can I put that ghee? Can I put that?
Yeah,
oil?
let's talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Most people who can't do coffee actually can't do moldy coffee. I quit coffee for 5 long, dark, horrible years because I couldn't do coffee because it hurt my tummy. It also made me super angry. An hour or two after I drink it, I'd get like really tired and I'd be like, "Urgh." Well, it turns out when you ferment coffee, bad stuff grows in the coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a mycotoxin or a mold toxin. And people say, Dave, you're making this up. Except in China, Japan, Europe, and South America, the governments put laws in place about how much is allowed in coffee. So when coffee gets rejected from those companies, it is sent to the US and Canada, where there are no limits for these mold toxins. And then we drink it and our tummies hurt. And we have to pee even though our bladder's not full. That's a very good sign you got moldy coffee. It is a big problem in the US. And yes, I make coffee where our standard is much higher than the European standard. So maybe I'm biased, maybe I'm lying, maybe I'm a pharmaceutical company. I'll just tell you, I've got the president of the Specialty Coffee Association, former president, on video at my coffee plantation saying this is real and saying that he personally saw Japan reject 1,000 containers of moldy coffee that got shipped to the US. So this is real. So what I would suggest to you, you're like me. I do not go to a normal coffee place and drink coffee because it does make my stomach hurt. It gives me brain fog, it makes my joints hurt, and it makes me like want sugar and get cranky. So that would be one thing. Just make sure mold-free coffee might be mold. It might not be the coffee. But if you're truly caffeine sensitive, 5-10% of people can't have any caffeine from any source because you don't get rid of it. That's a different thing. So number one, check for mold. Number two, you can take matcha and you can add butter and you can add MCT oil and you can blend it up. And in fact, my wife does that. She'll drink she likes to do the bulletproof. I'll do an Americano that's got a little bit of butter and MCT in it, but her primary thing is actually doing a matcha. Yeah. And here's a little tip for you guys. You'll love this. So if you blend it, it's very important that you blend it. When you blend it, it makes tiny little droplets that changes the electrical stuff in the water, actually. And there's new research about this. So 20 seconds or so of blending will make it work better than if you were to just stir it with a spoon. So my wife was like, she's a physician. She said, I think I've got an idea. So she puts her coffee or tea in the blender, adds the stuff, puts the lid on the blender. And since it's going to blend for 20 seconds, she holds the lid on the blender so it doesn't end up on the ceiling. And then she does squats while she's holding onto it. So she gets her squats every morning while she's blending her coffee. And she totally grew like a shelf bud doing that. Okay.
Did she really?
It's the real deal. Yeah.
Whoa.
So there you go.
Okay. I blend. I don't do squats while I blend, but I could really use a shelf bud. So
you might as well. I mean, think about it. Every day, just doing 20 seconds of squats. It's not, you're going to hold the blender lid anyway. So it's kind of free time.
I'm doing that anyway. And I'm doing Dr. Fauci's little drops, and those are 20 seconds each under the tongue. So I've got like at least, 3-4 minutes of squats that I could do. So thank you for that. Well, I'm sending her an extra bracelet after this. So
all right. She'll love it.
Oh, you have to tell me which ones too after this.
Okay. Good deal.
Okay, so, we haven't really talked about this. Well, we haven't talked about this far, but just about your thoughts on mushrooms, because that's such a thing. I get a lot of questions about that. I haven't really yet had anyone come on as an expert. That may or may not be your specialty, but I feel like you pretty much know everything.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Probably the preeminent expert out there right now is Paul Stamets, and I've interviewed him on my show. He lives one island over from me up here.
I would love to interview him. I've watched his movie. It was incredible, beautiful.
He's a great human being too, really working to make the earth a better place and repair the soil. And it's one of the reasons I'm on the farm now, is we're making soil. And from there, I used to at the Bulletproof Cafe, which is changing its name to the Upgrade Cafe in Santa Monica. It's part of the Upgrade Labs expansion. And I used to put mushrooms in the coffee, and there's two things going on. One, powdered mushrooms don't do very much. And number two, they don't taste good in coffee. They're kind of a gritty, earthy flavor. They sort of ruin it. So we used to have these 4 different upgrades with Chinese herbs and different mushrooms. all the studies say, oh, lion's mane mushroom does magic stuff for making a more plastic brain that can learn faster. I could not detect any difference. It was very frustrating over the years. Then I found that it's because of an extract with alcohol and hot water. And you take that. Can you guys hear me now? I don't know if I lost you or you lost me. I'll say that again just in case.
Yeah, we did lose you. Yeah, say the part again
So
after
weird.
powder.
All right, I'm wired in on Ethernet. How does that even happen?
See there? Oh.
All right.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Okay. So, yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay.
So we were talking about how powder is not as effective.
Yep. What you do instead is you get a liquid extract. I found the most effective one is the Australian species. It's a company called Life Cycle.
Yeah.
And what you do what they do is they take the mushrooms, they soak them in alcohol, and then they heat them up with hot water and they make a concentrated extract. And when I do that before bed, I get REM sleep, like an hour and a half to 2 hours of REM sleep in 6 hours. If I don't do that, I'll get like 45 minutes of REM sleep, and it's predictable and it works, and it doesn't ruin your coffee with like a mushroom slurry. So I also have done a few interviews with other mushroom experts, other than the Life Cycle guys, or with Paul, talking about how a lot of the mushroom powder you get is actually like the stems, basically. So it's the less effective part, a lot of the stuff that comes out of China. So I would just say, if the mushrooms are working, you should feel it and you should be able to measure it in your sleep. And if the mushrooms are there to make you tell yourself you're doing something that works that doesn't work, then they're just polluting your coffee. That'd be my basic take on it.
That's funny. So what blend are you taking before sleep then?
Before I go to sleep, I like the straight lion's mane. And if I don't have a lot of stress and anxiety stuff, chaga can be helpful for that as well, as well as reishi. Reishi is more kind of calming. So my recommended brand would be Life Cycle, and the liquid drops. And I don't want to, say bad things about other brands or anything like that. I'll say I've tried many different brands, and that was the one after a lot of research that I tried. I also like Paul Stamets' Host Defense, I think is a quality preparation as well.
Yeah, I love Host Defense, and I actually found the Life Cycle brand through you as well.
Oh, cool.
And I've tried a lot of other companies, and I feel that those are the two most effective. Host Defense is just maybe easier to get because, it's in the US, you don't have to wait as long. But they're both great, and Paul's great. So thank you for sharing that. We had a lot of people that had said, I just want to know what Dave does all day, like in terms of what he eats, what you eat,
all right,
the supplements. So this is what the notebooks were taken out for at 12:50 when I jumped on early, and it was sort of like, I want to know what he does. So if you're open to sharing, it may be personal. But if whatever it is that you have to share, I think that our community who has stayed on with us. So thank you guys so much. Just for staying on and being so engaged and attentive. I'm always so grateful that you spend the time with me and my incredible guests. So, Dave, if you're open to share.
I'm happy to share. I'm an open book. There's not a lot of stuff I don't talk about, especially on the Upgrade Collective, where it's less censored than you have today. And there's three big things that are kind of a through line in my books that all life forms do, and they're all F words, right? And they go in order. The first one is fear, and it's your fight or flight response. So your body will automatically take 10 times more of your attention and energy and put it on something that is scary. Even if it's not scary, the body doesn't know. That's why those negative headlines get your attention. So what I'm doing is I'm managing my F words. So fear is the first one. And if I'm not afraid right there, and I don't mean I'm conscious, I decided to be afraid. I mean, if my biology didn't respond in a fearful way, the next thing that the body's going to do is food, the second F word. And that's because famines have killed all sorts of species, whether you're single-celled life or anything else. So automatically you'll think about food unless you're managing that. And that'll get about 5 times more focus, because all of us know we won't starve if we don't eat for a month. We just would be hungry. But our body's like, you'll die if you don't eat the donut. Okay, so you got that. And then the third F word that all life has to do to stay around gets about 3 times more attention than is required. It's an F word that's a lot of people don't want to say it on Instagram. Fertility. Okay, it's the other part of that. But those are the 3 things that your body wants to do when you're not paying attention. So then it's my job all day long to wake up and be like, okay, how do I manage it so that those don't steal my energy from the 4th F word, which is friend? And this is what we're actually all wired to do, which is to support our older people, our children, whether it's ours or the children in our community, and to specialize and to be of service to the world. We're actually wired to do that inside ourselves, but not if the other things are in the way. So it's my job to shut down those F words that aren't serving me. So what do I do for the first one? Well, I wake up and I do I'll do a breathing meditation usually. The ones that I use are from Dr. Barry, energyforsuccess.com.
Yeah.
And he's one of 9 living grandmasters taught by Lao Tzu's oral tradition. He's literally Dr. Strange, as in they interviewed him to write the movie. He's the American doctor who studied at the monastery, pushing a brush, the only white guy ever to do that. So he teaches that stuff. And you know about Dr. Barry as well. So I do that in the morning when I first wake up, and that's to help get rid of the first F word. So now I'm in a different place, kind of vibrating. And then I practice intermittent fasting the vast majority of the time. And I use the fasting hacks that I teach in the Upgrade Collective that are in Fast This Way. You've got it on the shelf behind you. And then I don't think about food. I just don't. It doesn't matter. There's no little thing in the back of my mind going, oh, should I eat? Oh, no, I'm going to decide not to eat. That's all gone. So I wake up. I usually have a shot of espresso. I'm making Americano out of that. Yes, a metal coffee filter gives you some advantages over a paper filter in terms of the good coffee plant compounds. And I usually put a little bit of MCT and butter in it, but I don't always. But I'm just never hungry. Right now, it's going to be about 2:00 pretty soon here. I have not had anything to eat today. I just do this most days. So now I'm not hungry. I'm thinking about food. And I'm not thinking about scary stuff. I also don't turn my phone on until I'm done meditating. I've already written down my goals for the day using the Energy for Success stuff. If I'm going to drop my kids off at school that morning, then I don't turn my phone on to get text messages or anything else until I've already dropped the kids off. So I'm present for myself and for my family before I go out and let the world pollute my mind. About that third F word, there's not much you can do in the morning. You're just going to think about attractive people. That's just how humans work when we have healthy hormones. What you do for that, though, is you can channel that energy, because passion is another word for the sex side of things. So if you're feeling passion, right, that passion gets channeled into passion for improving yourself, improving the world, and being of service to others. And maybe there's some time later in the day where it might get channeled into something that's more recreational. But the idea of letting that own you is also a big problem. There's people listening here who have a problem with porn. There really are. So I just make sure that, all right, yeah, I'm feeling, energy. You can choose what kind of energy that is and where it goes. And so I'm conscious of that. And that's part of the stuff that I teach in the Upgrade Collective. Like, okay, how do you deal with that weird one? And then what I do, I take a handful of supplements, the ones that go on an empty stomach in the morning. I take a bunch of food-based ones that absorb better with food at lunchtime. And I do it again when I have dinner. Usually dinner's around 5:30. Where I live, it's light until 11 o'clock at night because I'm pretty far north. So I still eat dinner earlier, and I actually put on the True Dark right here, the patented sleep glasses that are way more than blue blockers. They're very, very sexy glasses, and I just broke them. Anyway, they're these are hot, cool. Right? But there are other styles, but these are the ones that are like mission critical, crazy strength. So you can put those on even if you go outdoors and it's bright, and your body's like, oh, it must be nighttime, so I can go to sleep. And that's called True Dark. And I actually wrote the patent for those glasses because blue blockers don't do enough at night and they do too much during the day. So I'm kind of going through the whole day. And when do I exercise? Sometimes I don't, but I always move. So I can go for a walk. I'm on 32 acres. Sometimes I do the Bulletproof Vibe, and quite often I'll do an infrared sauna, or I'll do some blood flow restriction things. But guys, I promise you that for 90% of people listening, I work out less than you do, right? And I also am about 11% body fat. I weigh about now 235. I put on 14 pounds of muscle in the last 6 months. And like, there are people way more ripped than me, but this is from not exercising. Like
Wait, in the
I'm
last
happy with
6
that.
months, in the last six
Yeah.
months, you put on 14 pounds of lean muscle.
Yeah. Thanks, pandemic. I was traveling less.
Wow. That's
And
amazing.
you know how long that takes me to do it? I do 7 pull-ups in the morning, and once a week, I get the signal into my muscles to grow. But then again, I happen to own Upgrade Labs. So what's going on here is that you are probably, everyone listening, you're probably working out in a way that doesn't provide great returns for you. Right. So you can overtrain. I used to go to the gym 6 days a week, an hour and a half a day. And I was overtrained, and I still weighed 300 pounds at the end of that. And I still had a 46-inch waist, and I was so frustrated. But it turns out sometimes really high intensity for very short periods of time gives you more results. So that's what I'm doing. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Right. And then I'll take the extra hour that I didn't spend on a bicycle, running in circles, and I'll sit in an infrared sauna and I'll talk to my kids, or I'll talk to a friend. Right. That actually works better. So I want everyone listening to go, am I exercising in a way that got me what I wanted? Because if you're tired, but you're not either losing weight or putting on muscle, you're doing it wrong. So I'm very happy with where my body is, given that my total exercise inputs are less than an hour a week. But I do go for a walk every day. It's just not exercise. So walking is good.
Wow. That's, even that alone, I'm all about that, because I move, but I don't, I don't exercise the way I used to. I used to lift 6 days a week. This is all.
But look at your shoulders. Like you're healthy. You're not like a stick figure, right? And you can tell someone doesn't exercise. So you're doing something that's working for you. And just to give everyone permission to say, you know what? Is there a way I could do this that gives me more time back, or doesn't make me tired all the time? Because I was exhausted when I worked out 6 days a week. And you just have to sleep 10 hours a night, and you have to eat all the time, and it's not even good for you. But if you were to do it every third day, it might actually give you more results. And it totally does.
Yeah. I'm really excited about this. So you guys, if you have not yet gone to the site to join Upgrade Collective, I'm definitely doing it as soon as we're off. If for nothing else, community and exercise less and still look and feel great.
I'll teach you guys how to eat less and exercise less without having any downside. So I don't want you to be uncomfortable. There's no struggling. There's no suffering. Just results in the least possible effort. Because seriously, we all have stuff that matters. And spending extra time obsessing about food and obsessing about the gym without even getting results. Like, how about obsess about, what do I do to make myself forgive someone today? What do I do to make myself be grateful today? Those actually matter. And if you're too tired to do them, you won't.
Yes. And just to add on to that, you guys, the better you feel, the more you can give. The more you can do to serve, like the more you can do to make the whole world a better place. And it starts with your inner circle and your inner pod. You're at the center of that pod, So I would say, just to add on to what Dave is saying, like the better you feel, the more energy you have, the more you can do for your family and your friends, and collectively, the more we can do for the world. So this is just, it's been so awesome to have you on, Dave, and this has been beautiful. And I'm really excited about this collective. And I don't know how I didn't know about it before you told me about it. I'm sure some people on here are already on it or in it. And I hope that those of you that have stayed with us, thank you so much. You guys are amazing. I hope you guys all go and check it out and join. I would love to see you in there with me. And we didn't even talk about all the other things. I listed Dave's companies, but I would encourage you to go check it out. Go to Dave's Instagram account. If you don't already follow him, you should be. So make sure you do it after this, and check out all the other things, all the other gifts and businesses that he's doing to really help the world and help you. And I still have to do 40 years of Zen.
You're always welcome. I'd love to have you there.
I would like to bring like a group of like maybe 4 or 5 of my girlfriends, because I already brought it up. Like I already talked about it, my little mastermind of good friends, and there's like 5, I think, maybe 6 of us that would love to come out together.
We can do that. And look at you building community. And one of the things that I think everyone would benefit from, I know we're almost out of time, but is when you decide you're going to share vulnerability with someone, you're going to say, oh, I'm having a hard time with this. It actually encourages them to share as well. And then you end up forming better friendships because you're just willing to be vulnerable and say, I'm still pissed off about this, or I'm working on that. So that's one of the things that when you do it with neuroscience backing you and you're all getting into these very altered states, kind of like plant medicine, but using electronics instead of drugs, it can be a really powerful experience. And to bring friends like that is really wise because now you're getting community and you're building friendships at the same time you're doing your personal development. So what you're doing there, it's kind of a ninja move. Like, how do I get more things in the same amount of time? So everyone listening, if you can do your sauna with a friend, okay, you got your sauna and you got your friend time. So always look to stack things up. So you're just doing it right, Serena. And I appreciate you and appreciate the community you built. And thanks for having me on, and always happy to answer questions for you.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you, and I appreciate you and all your kind words and just your kind heart. And thank you. And thank you all, you guys. The replay will be ready, and we'll fast track this one. So we'll try and get it ready in the next 48 hours. So that'll be up on YouTube and Facebook, and I'll send messages. And that's it. So stay tuned for the next one. All right.
See you guys.
Okay. Bye.